When you are prophetic, you can't always listen to the perspective of somebody else. I get why some people say some of the things that they say, especially pastors, when it comes to their sheep, when it comes to the congregation that they are speaking to. But when you are prophetic, you have to follow the lead of the Holy Spirit. I saw a video where the pastor, which is a singer, and it's no slight against anything that he said, but it quickened in my spirit, because one of the things that many of us have to do is always be led by the Holy Spirit when we look at the perspective of what somebody else is saying, because what somebody else is saying may not be meant for everybody. When we read the Bible and we see, let's go to the story of King David. Before David was king, his father had him in the field tending to the sheep. David had other brothers. All the other brothers were big brothers, big, sturdy, looked like they could be king and things of that nature. But the Bible describes David as being a ruddy, redhead little boy. So with him being ruddy and small and things of that nature, his father overlooked him, dismissed him when the prophet Samuel came in looking for the next king, because Saul had fallen. So he was looking for the next king, and the next king turned out to be David. That's a dysfunctional family right there from the beginning, right? So then David, as he raises his family, there's all kinds of scandal and dysfunction in the family, because you have Amnon, who ends up violating his half sister. Absalom goes and violates Amnon and unalives them and things of that nature. So there's a lot of dysfunction that carries on into David's family. Now, I grew up in the projects, and growing up in the projects, you see a whole lot of dysfunction within families, within the family unit of the four buildings of the projects that I grew up in. People sleeping with other people's men and other people's wives and other people's husbands, and just children all over the place, and just a whole lot of dysfunction, abuse, narcotics selling, and people with the mental issues and things of that nature. So when you grow up with this type of dysfunction in your mind, is seeing the dysfunction of everything God has allowed you to see, even though you didn't necessarily participate in, or you did participate in, but you didn't recognize that it was dysfunction until the Holy Spirit brought it to your remembrance. Now, we read it in the Bible. There are many of us who have experienced it, but there are some of us who need to see the dysfunction in our face. So when Scandal was out, God did not allow me to watch Scandal at all. But before the beginning of this year, I think it was in November, God told me to watch Scandal. And I said, I'm not getting ready to watch that. But I know if Holy Spirit tells me to watch something, it's purpose in what it is that I need to see. So I ended up watching Scandal. And I watched it all the way through. I saw all of the dysfunction in the family, the dysfunction in the family that was brought together by Olivia Pope and things of that nature, the dysfunction in Olivia Pope. So sometimes when you see all of this dysfunction, and God is going to minister to you to be able to see certain things, there are certain things that God will lead you to, certain movies, certain things that He wants you to watch, certain series and things of that nature, because everything connects, especially for those of us who are not psychologists and things of that nature. We don't know how to pick up on certain things. But when you look at a movie and God, the Holy Spirit is really leading you, He will tell you, look up the characteristics of this person. When we look at Olivia's Pope father, he had the characteristics. He was controlling. He was grandiose. He had to, everything had to be centered about him. He made Olivia to be in all of the people who he controlled, because he was command. When you look up those characteristics, it leads you to that he's a narcissistic psychopath. When you look at Olivia's mother, Maya Pope, who didn't mind cutting the throat or doing whatever she needed to do to get ahead, these two criminals came together and birthed this young lady who we thought was normal in the beginning, until life started happening. And she started going through cycles and all of the training of her father and all of the suck it up of her mother every time a tear got ready to drop and things of that nature. She had to hold in everything. And all of this made her into something that none of us thought that she would ever be. So when we have to minister to people, sometime God will tell you to go look at a movie in order for you to see the diagnosis of how somebody becomes a sociopath, because many of us, we don't encounter sociopaths, but because there are so many sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissistic people and things of that nature in the earth today, which these are demons, we need to know how to recognize and not just always waiting to discern what a person has in them that end up boxing you upside your head because you think that you're ready to deal with, face, and prepared for. God can show you the characteristics before you have to deal with this type of spirit. But many of us real holy and religious people will say, oh, just let the Holy Spirit reveal certain things to you. The Holy Spirit can reveal to you to tell you to watch this, to learn this, to go to school for this, so that you'll know what it is that you're looking at. And then the Holy Spirit can give you the confirmation of how to deal with that spirit. But even when we look within Scandal, Olivia Pope is bringing these people into a community that's helping people, but everybody dysfunction. Everybody got control issues. Or one comes in and she ends up following behind. Quinn ends up becoming just like Huck by association. So when we really look at all of these things that are going on, the dysfunction, but many of us will say, oh, stay away from that because we only get caught up in the adultery. But we look at adultery going on every day on our jobs. There are some people, because you are secluded and you are away from this type of people or this type of activity, you don't have to minister to these people. But when you have to minister to certain people, there's certain things that you have to watch. There are many of us who love X-Men and Marvel characters and things of that nature with these supernatural powers and things of that nature. We don't believe in the supernatural powers, but we're all drawn to these Marvel characters and things of that nature. But we see these activities of people every day that we know is going on. That not only do you believe it, but you see it smack dead in your face. But people will tell you not to watch something that you need to minister to or get the revelation of in order for your ministry to be effective, and not just wait for all revelation to come from heaven when you walk in the spirit. And trust me, like I said, I understand that there are people who are not on levels where they can get the understanding and the revelation, and they open themselves up to demons and things of that nature. So I'm not speaking from that perspective, but I'm speaking from the prophetic component of things. You have to go into where the Holy Spirit is teaching you or leading you or telling you what it is that he wants you to do, what it is that he wants you to get. God has ministered to me through many movies. But I will say this, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch the news. So when I do go to something, I know it's because God led me to it. And there's a message in it. So sometimes you have to, like we say, eat the meat and throw out the bones. You got to see what you see and know that this is going on in real life. But also be able to look past that and say, Holy Spirit, what is it that you want me to say? Because we can even go to the dysfunction of the whole place that was in operation, from the head to every worker, to how things was functioning, how everything went around the person who was in leadership, the president of in Scandal, and how people did certain things to make sure that certain things didn't come back that was taken care of, that the president didn't know about, and things of that nature. We can look at the nation, the world today, and see all the dysfunction. But we'll tell people to stay away from certain things. We have to put things in perspective. Now, understand that babies aren't always able to digest everything. But there are scandals in your block. Scandal in your state, in your city, in your community. There are scandals all throughout the Bible. So just be wise where God